I came across this piece of heartbreaking news on the 3rd of June 2025. Does he seem familiar to you? Silas was a cornerstone in Skullhead's troupe, who earned years of stability and respect. But as resources dwindled, the oustings became more frequent and more ruthless. In a devastating turn of events, in January 2025, Silas was cast out. 4 months, he survived alone, a wanderer living in the shadows not by choice, but by circumstance. Then he went missing. On the 2nd of June, he reappeared, only to find him found lying weak on top of a pedestrian pathway cover in Onyam Estate. There were no visible ghastly wounds from a fight. Perhaps he was hit by a car and suffered from internal injuries, or his body was simply shutting down from the exhaustion, starvation, and stress of exile. His expression will haunt me forever. His wide eyes were filled with desperation. Being taken away from everything that was once familiar and facing an uncertain fate must have been overwhelming. The moment I saw the news report published on June 3rd, I called the agencies that could possibly have taken him in: the AFCD, SPCA, and Kadoorie Farm. All 3 initially claimed they had no record of a macaque being admitted the previous night. Only after repeated calls did the AFCD check with their colleagues and reveal the devastating truth: they had picked him up, and a veterinarian from Kadoorie Farm had decided to euthanize him right after. I continued to ask questions about his condition and the vet's diagnosis. But they gave me an impersonal, rehearsed response. The vet would not discuss his condition in detail. The lack of transparency is deeply upsetting. Silas's story did not end on Monkey Hill, surrounded by his family. Instead, it concluded on a cold metal table, where his fate was determined by strangers who wouldn't even account for why. This is Silas. For much of his life, his shadow guarded Skullhead's troop. His weathered face as well as scars unveil the eventful life he lived and betrayed his years of experience on the battlefield. His eyes still sweep the territory with precision, scanning the horizon as if anticipating unseen threats. Younger boys like Nathan avert their gaze out of fear and reverence, aware that they stand before a living legend, a warrior whose presence commands both respect and awe. I still vividly remember the general posture he retains. His stiff left leg drags slightly, a scar earned in old battles. He adapts and favors his right leg. This is his family, and their circle is still growing. Amy wasn't merely his mate, but his shadow and most loyal follower. She follows him through the territory, forages alongside him, and chooses a resting spot only once he has settled. Her family is a single cohesive unit. Their bond was once tested by the formidable matriarch Ella. They did not flee and protest from afar. Instead, they stood shoulder to shoulder beside their mother, showing a calm, unified defiance. A clear and unequivocal statement that any confrontation with their mother would involve them all. Silas and Penelope's legacy continues through the branches of their family tree. They were blessed with two remarkable daughters, Hannah and Haley. Thanks to JW, I was able to review the old footage of Hannah and Haley. JW thought that Hannah was no longer with us, but fortunately that's not the case. Hannah is alive and well, and in 2023, their family expanded when Hannah welcomed a precious, sparse-furred daughter named Lovey. That's when Baby Belle climbed onto Penny's back, like a small burst of energy conquering a summit. Penny gladly accepted the honor. What a heartwarming scene. The following year, 2024, Hayley began her own journey into motherhood with the arrival of her son, Loki. They also have a sister, Heidi, but I can't confirm if Silas is Heidi's father. Additionally, they have a brother who was ousted long ago, another reminder of the brutal rules that govern their reality. When the two branches collide, a minor squabble that sent Lovey stumbling backward, squealing in protest. Silas remains still and observes from a distance. Being the second oldest brother in the family, Riley will always be found guilty. You can see little Rosie here provoking her brother. But the trigger doesn't matter. The moment Riley snaps, Rosie will always have her parents' support. When Riley reached his breaking point, he tackled Rosie, who then fell back onto her father Silas. Silas lay on the concrete ground, surrounded by his fortress of family. They were one big happy family, and Silas was at the heart of it all. There was a time when tension erupted between Silas and matriarch Ella. Prince Raven pointed an accusing finger at Silas for getting too near to the pile of goodies he was munching on. His shriek drew immediate attention from the matriarch, so Ella charged at Silas, delivering an unequivocal message. The wise and weathered Silas knew better than to stand his ground against her fury. He took a few steps back and redirected his rage on a nearby victim, a clear signal of his submission and appeasement toward Ella. Being protective as always, Ella's anger is not so easily quelled. She took a few more charging steps at Riley, Silas's son. This was a calculated bluff. Silas observed tensely yet still, as Ella wasn't crossing the line. But when Ella laid hands on River, Silas's daughter, the game changed. He immediately stood his ground, communicating his firm boundary. The standoff ended in a draw,